the kitchen of intrigue, Curt Jackson and Chris Callow are cooking up a batch of mystery soup.
Each episode serves a new blend of tips, tactics, trends, and tales from the business and design sides of the escape room world.
So grab your spoon, because this episode starts in 3, 2, 1.
Mystery Soup.
Welcome back to Mystery Soup, podcast all about the business and design sides of, I was about to say the summer camp industry, Chris. That is incorrect. This is
I
the
was
escape
just
room
thinking,
industry.
I don't like soup.
You don't like soup at all?
I don't like cold weather, number one. And I don't like warm, hot soup. I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't like cold soup. I don't like any kind of soup.
You're so weird, man. You're
Yeah.
so weird. Not even chicken noodle, nothing.
Well, when I'm sick, that's about it. Chicken noodle when I'm sick. We would always hit Panera. Normally it's St. Louis Bread Company. But Panera Bread, when we were sick, we'd go get some soup and a sandwich. And
People love Panera. I've never been to Panera.
Really?
Never eaten there. Yeah. They're all over, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, we each got our thing. So, anyways, for this episode, we're excited to have Vincent Stevens here. Does anyone in your family call you Vinny?
My aunt does.
Your aunt. It's always the aunt.
And my niece, who's 5.
That's okay.
Aw.
The little ones, that's fine.
Yeah.
Uncle Vinny. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time and joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
All right. I've been building games for the last decade almost. Opened up a first location in Portland in 2015 and have since moved on to bigger and better things. Back in my youth, I built a ton of games on the East Coast. That was several years ago now. And then I've been focused mostly in Southern California the last couple of years, building for clients like Escape Games at the River and Mind Trap, and recently at Breaking Point. So,
Are you originally from Oregon?
I'm originally from Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah. Oregon's beautiful.
I'm looking at your website right now, the breakingpointescaperooms.com. First of all, I like how your background lights up every so often. That's really cool. But I have to know, in Headcase, maybe this is a movie and I don't know about it. Did you get Elizabeth Olsen to be on that poster for you? That looks just like Elizabeth Olsen in that.
So we didn't actually, myself, Jim Norkus, who owns Locked in Carlsbad, and Carla, who's one of the owners at 13th Room, we actually partnered up and bought Breaking Point about almost 2 years ago now. And Whitmore Estate and Headcase were already there at that location. And we've since gone through and tried to make minor tweaks and adjustments as things go on, and currently building 2 more games at that site as well. So as far as Elizabeth Olsen goes, I don't know.
Oh man, I was like, do I have a connection to Elizabeth Olsen? That would be amazing. It sure looked. I was just like, man, this must be like from a video or something, like Headcase is a movie or that I've just never heard about. But
Vincent,
I do like the background. That's cool.
Besides escape rooms, do you do anything else? Any other hobbies or interests?
I spend so much time working and building that I don't do a ton. I do like the golf, and occasionally I'll go snowboarding, but that's only when time allows for it. So
You're up in Oregon, right?
No, I'm in Palm Desert right now.
Oh, wait, is that in California?
It is, yeah. It's by Palm Springs.
Nice.
Are you living in Palm Desert, or you're just there right now?
Home base it's between Murrieta and Rancho Cucamonga, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So tell me some of the favorite games that you've maybe played, not designed, but just as a player, some of your favorite escape games.
It's a little self-serving, but I actually played it before I owned it. Headcase was top 5 for me at the time that I played it. Absolutely loved the game, which is one of the reasons why I wanted it so bad when it became available. I loved Lab Rat at the same time at Hatch. I thought it was an ingenious play on theatricality and introducing story into the space. One of my favorites actually is gone now, and it was at it was called Smuggler's Tunnels, and I can't remember the company name. I'd have to look it up. It's been gone a couple of years now, but it was small footprint. It had tons of puzzles, like it was a collector style game. It was awesome. I loved it.
Nice.
These are
but
all out in SoCal for the most part.
those are in SoCal, yeah.
I need to make it out to SoCal because as we've been doing this podcast, that seems to be where all the everyone's out there, all these amazing rooms.
You could come play 5 games a day for 5 weeks out here and never run out of good games.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's
We were there
awesome.
for 5 weeks. We played a lot. Still didn't get all the ones we wanted to. So Vincent, how'd you get into designing escape rooms? What's your background? How did this all happen?
My background is actually nursing.
Really?
Yeah. Back in beginning of 2015, I played my first game up in Seattle, and it was Trapped in a Room with the Zombie.
Okay.
Absolutely loved the theming. It was the first time I'd experienced things like that, and just looked at it and I was like, man, this is a big business coming soon, because that was at the time that there was only a couple hundred companies in the entire United States.
Mhm.
And my partner and I at the time, we opened up 5 months later in downtown Portland, and
Wow.
that's when we first started building and designing. And then for the next year and a half, I was still in nursing school, so I was making that work somehow. I was still working full-time night shift at the hospital, and then I somehow found a way to continue growing the business. And about a year after we opened, companies started saying, "We like your games. Would you think you'd want to potentially build for somebody else?" And that's how that started.
Nice.
My first couple was a trip to Alaska and a trip to Hawaii and a trip to Florida. So basically as far from Oregon as you can get.
Wow.
So we'd fabricate some of the props and stuff in Oregon and then fly out there for a couple weeks and install what we have and teach them how to basically run a company, because all of them were brand new. Nobody had games before. So it's like teaching new owners how to start a company and how to run games and how to hire staff and build the games too. And then last year I spent the entire year basically building for Sony out in Chicago.
Doing what?
Sony contacted us, Nathan Becker and I from Mindtrap. They contacted us because they liked the design style and the build implementation that we had for short mini games, like half-hour games. And they sent out a team and they played the games. They loved them. So we worked with Sony to provide 3 mini games in Oak Brook Center in Illinois.
This is like Sony, like the big company Sony.
Sony, yeah.
That's awesome. I've been Oak Brook.
It was really cool because we got to work with licensed IP. So did you guys watch the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg? Yeah, we actually built 3 games around that IP. So we used like the church scene and modified it to gameplay, the pirate ship, well, technically not the pirate ship, the treasure galleon and the auction room. And we built little mini games with them. And they went into a facility called Wonderverse out there.
Wonderverse. So these were promo games for the movie?
No, this was after the movie came out, actually. They wanted... So Wonderverse in its entirety is they found a bunch of different kinds of companies like VR, arcade, that kind of stuff, and put them all in the same facility using their IP. So they got like Zombieland there, and the Void has their VR set up for Jumanji, and then they had Ghostbusters. It's really cool.
Nice.
Neat.
Yeah.
So you put together games for Mindtrap.
Yes.
You've done other games. What would you say is the game that you're most proud of?
The most notable is easily 40 Thieves.
40 Thieves.
In Temecula. Yeah.
Yeah. Great game.
Curtis talked to me about that one many times.
It's been very widely spoken of. It's been open for almost 2 years now. So
wow, that was a collaboration with you and Nathan.
Yeah, and Emma as well. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, that's a fun game. The best intro I've seen.
Yeah. the first time we saw that actually work with everything happening, we're like, "Well, that was really cool," and just sat there. And I probably watched that intro myself probably 50 times before anybody else saw it.
That's so funny.
Is that something that you guys came up with, or did you have somebody else do the intro?
No, that was all done in house.
Yeah. So good.
Because when we were talking about it, I was like, Nathan, I want to do something cool with the intro. He's like what? I was like, I don't know, but I want stuff to actually happen during the intro, and I want it to be like dramatic, and that's kind of what we came up with without sending too many spoilers.
Right.
Do you do a lot of your own tech for that?
I do all the tech.
You do all the tech. That's all. So where in the world did you learn that?
A lot of it was self-taught, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're trying to build a game, they try and go over the top on tech. Like, they're custom programming LEDs and lights and sounds, and just like, from a player's perspective, nobody realizes that. Like, the only people who realize how complex something is the person who built it. So I try and keep things more on the simpler side and get more creative with how things work rather than why things work. Like, I use tons and tons and tons of magnetic switches. They're fast, they're easy, they're reliable, and I rig them up to a ton of relays and a control board, and I never have to worry about them. I don't do anything Arduino. Everything I do is hardwired stuff.
Interesting.
Really?
Interesting. Cool.
I don't either, but just because I don't know Arduino.
Well, there's a company out there called Fright Props, and they produce what is, I think, the most valuable piece of tech that the escape room industry has ever seen, called the FlexMax. And it's basically a little PLC, and it's got inputs and outputs, and that's what I use to control the brain on things.
So, yeah, but I mean, the FlexMax, if you're using a bunch of those, it could get quite expensive versus
$380, Curt. That's all.
They're $480 for the ones that I use.
I got the cheap version here. This is the Walmart brand. Let me.
Are you on the website right now?
I did. I just went to see.
So that's an 8 output only. The games that I use typically, 40 Thieves, for example, I think we use about 50 to 60 outputs.
Wow.
So we actually use multiple boo boxes in that game. And then this game that I'm sitting in right now actually I've set it up for 24 inputs and like 80 outputs, just because of how much stuff is going on.
So from a non-techie guy, just give me a little bit. Is it like, so you have the inputs, so when you put, a chess piece in a certain spot or something like that, then your outputs are, it opens a door, plays a sound. Is that kind of the gist behind it?
The oversimplification, but pretty much. Typically the inputs that I use are like, a whole puzzle. Say there's a panel with 20 switches on it. That whole puzzle, each switch will go to a relay so that I can combine them all. It's a little bit complex, but it's all analog stuff. It takes me like no time to wire up. But there's 20 switches. They all go to a relay bank, and that relay bank sends one signal to the boo. So each input is one puzzle, one full puzzle, not just one switch.
Okay.
And then with the Flex, it's easy to, I want this to happen when this puzzle's solved, and I want this to turn off when this is. It's a little PLC.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to get some of these, but it's definitely outside of my budget for my little camp that I work at.
It's you could start with that little the $380 one.
Yeah, I'll start
there. It's not something that'll go to waste.
That's awesome.
Vincent, what's your process? What's your design process when designing a new game?
It kind of depends on what the client wants. Charlie out here, he has a different mentality than, say, Nathan in Marietta, just because Charlie wants to be able to put a larger volume of people through his game because he gets larger groups. So like this game itself is completely wide open for the most part. It's got one path that'll get you to a finish line, but the rest of it is completely open, which is why there's 24 puzzles in here. Meanwhile, if I'm working in a different area that should be more story driven, then it's more, okay, let's figure out what type of game we want first. I'll use 40 Thieves. 40 Thieves is a Moroccan themed game. Emma wanted a Moroccan themed game. Emma's Nathan's wife. She wanted a Moroccan themed game. So I was like, okay, we can work with that. And then we started working on kind of what it wanted to look like and feel like, and the audio. And I built out the world. And while I was building out the world, it was like, okay, well, what kind of puzzles made sense in that world? And then I kind of worked backwards from the finish line of, hey, this puzzle makes sense. I'm going to put it in. Now we have to make it incorporate into that world.
And when do you put like a storyline in there?
It's kind of start to finish type thing. Some of the story comes at the start. Some of the story comes at the end. Most of it probably comes during the construction.
Interesting. So then a client comes to you and says, hey, here's a theme I want. And you kind of work with that. You don't pre-create a game and say this game is available.
I don't do box games. I do all custom games. Everything I've done is all one-offs for the last like 5 years.
That's way too many ideas in your head then.
No, they're bleeding out. That's the problem.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great.
It's pushing me to do, because I don't like to repeat ideas if possible either. Yeah. So I have to continue to try and come up with not only new things, but bigger and better things, because people are expecting bigger and better things. So it's getting, it's a whole lot harder now than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I had all these ideas and all I had to do was bring them to life.
Well, so funny that Emma was like, let's do a Moroccan theme. I never would have.
I don't know if that would be a theme I'd come up with.
Theme, right? That's cool.
It's funny.
I know, it kind of shocked me too, but it worked. So it's a Moroccan marketplace. So it looks like a bunch of little shops in the marketplace, and then you go into a storeroom and there's an alley. It's lots of little trinkets and stuff. It's really cool.
So, and there's the neat thing about that game is that there's characters without needing like a live actor. And I love that in a game when it feels like there's other people, that there are actors in the room.
Lots of little speakers everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of those controllers. So when you're designing these things, do you kind of have a certain number of players in mind, or are you planning like, hey, I'm designing this for 20 people to be in, 8 people, 2 people? Like, what does that look like?
You're never going to see me design a game that's meant for more than 10 players. Part of that is I want the players to have a good time.
Yeah.
If you put 20 people in a room, I don't care how big that room is, people are going to miss more than half of that space. I would rather design a smaller space and put smaller groups in there. I've built games that were 100 square feet that fit 6 people. Curt, I don't know if you played Taken when you were out here. Yeah, it was literally 100 is 90. I think it was 90 square feet, and I put jail bars down the center of it. So it was actually 2 groups separated for the entire duration of the game. It was 90 square feet, and people love that game just as much as they would a full hour-long 600 square foot game, because they got to experience everything.
Wow, that's crazy.
Do you have a magic number that you would say, hey, this is, if money weren't an issue, that's usually what's the reason, but I think this is the magic number for escape room players?
It's more of the magic group than the magic number.
Yeah.
So when I go play games, most of the time it's with the Beckers. There are 5 or 6 of us. It depends if Stephanie's husband AJ can join. There's 5 or 6 of us. We play the games. We get to experience almost everything in the game the entire time, and we have a great time. If I'm designing a game, I'm shooting for that 6 to 8 player range, but I also want to design it in a way where people don't feel like they missed out.
Yeah,
because we've all played games that they had some crazy moment in them, and half the group missed it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't
Yeah.
want that. I don't want you trapped in a different space when the ceiling's closing down.
And so, I mean, you have specific clients. You now are part owner of an escape business yourself. Can people still hire you?
Anything can be bought for the right price. There have been people that have tried to hire me for the last couple of years, and up until right now, I've been booked out about 18 months.
Wow.
Because of the projects that I have lined up. So
If I were to hire somebody, what would I expect to have to pay for that service?
That's a tricky question, because
Yeah.
there are a huge amount of answers. There are companies out there that charge 5 figures for just the design. There are also companies out there who will charge $200 for a
Right.
design. If you're looking for somebody who is going to come out and fabricate everything and basically hand you the key to a game that'll make money, there are companies out there that do that still too. There's not very many of them, but there are. You're looking for, 5 figures at least on that as well.
Mhm.
Depending on the quality, obviously that 5-figure margin is dramatically changed.
Sure.
So you're saying this $20 cash I have on me right now ain't gonna cut it? Is that?
I'll answer the phone for a 20-minute call
There you go.
for that $20, which is probably pretty cheap, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it's only because I like you guys.
That's right. That's right.
The only thing that I would dramatically stress on this is if somebody is potentially trying to get into the industry or revamp a game or have somebody come and build them a game, you absolutely 100% need to first play what that other company has produced before, because you have no idea whether you're going to like the game style or not.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different style. I have a style. People pick it out of a lineup because of my style of game. Even if it looks the same, my style is different. And you want to make sure that if you're spending a lot of money on something, that you have a style that you're going to be proud of and you actually want to run. And then you also want to make sure that that person has a good reputation. Don't care who it is, but you need to talk to other people who have worked with them and get the honest representation of that person or company.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
All these ideas that you have, is there somewhere you go? Like, most of my ideas come from showers. I'm staying in the shower in the morning. And that's where, like, you got a place like that, you get these inspiration of these ideas.
Hot tub.
Okay.
Hot tub.
Another reason I got to convince my wife to get one.
Honestly, like, if you have a couple beers and you're just chilling in a hot tub, it relaxes my mind enough to kind of just go with it and come up with new things, because I'm not worried about anything else. I'm just chilling in a hot tub. Like,
yeah, you got some waterproof paper. You're writing down these notes.
Oh no! If I die, the documentation, somebody better grab my brain, because that's where it's stored at for the most part.
If you look in my shower, I have Aqua Notes. The Aqua Notes, which is the notepad that is waterproof, and a pencil. Vincent, are there any cardinal rules that shouldn't be broken in game design?
Oh, you're getting me to give away all the trade secrets now. This one irks me so bad when I play a game. Don't ever try and beat the players. There are companies out there that take pride in, no one can beat this room. We don't care. We want to play and have fun. It is a game. If I don't have fun, I will not play again.
Right.
So do not try and beat the players. Just design something that's fun. If you can't design something that's fun, make them feel like it's fun. Have a good game master. Do something.
Yeah. I just saw on Facebook the other day someone had posted whatever their escape rate is this much. We have like 13% escape rate. And somebody commented, I don't think that's the flex you realize you're going for there, or something like that.
Right.
When I see stuff like that, I don't even want to go try a game at that company.
Same here.
Yep.
That to me says you don't care about players having fun. I mean, the reality is 99% of groups should get through 99% of games.
Yeah. Yep.
A good designer, a good design, that should be able to, if you can get them out with 3 minutes left on the clock, you've got a happy group that'll come back.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Maybe you've already done this, but have you ever thought about designing an escape room for kids?
Most games should be able to be played by kids. Wait, do you mean little kids or like?
Well, younger-ish. I'm thinking more like that seems to be at least that I've noticed going around here in the Midwest, a lot of the rooms are starting to add like, oh, we've added this room that's either family or this room's for kids. And they're definitely easier. Like if I were to go in it, I'm out in 20 minutes, but a little bit harder for the younger kids.
So the escape game actually did that really well with Playground. It's a fun game for adults, and if you've got a bunch of little kids in there, they're going to be throwing those balls around all the time. Like they're going to have a great time in there. It's just a playground for them.
I'm the same way. I throw them around.
I've tagged Nathan in the face a couple times. But I mean, it's just like, the kids are going to have fun. More games should be that whimsical, fun type of game. I think, early on, most escape rooms were scary games, just because they were the locked in a room mentality where you actually have to escape. And it was like, a lot of scary games back in the day. And then I think we're getting more and more scary games out there now, which I don't necessarily agree with because it's not my favorite genre, but it does have a subset of players that'll go play it. But when you produce a scary game, you miss out on 50% of customers right off the bat because people won't play them. If you include the kids, I mean, like you're producing a game that's targeting, less than 25% of players, maybe, Meanwhile, the Alice in Wonderland themed game or the whimsical playground, your target is 90% of groups. So just business decision wise, I think it's smarter to stick with that more fun, whimsical type game.
Yeah. So you said people can pick your games out of a lineup. What are some of your signature things that you do with your games that makes it kind of a Vincent Stevens game?
I like to build realistic style games. The more realistic I can make something, the more it can immediately transform where you are. So I would say that's my style. Is I'll focus a lot on how do I make the environment real? How do I make the puzzles real? Because in reality, it's a themed attraction. If Indiana Jones at Disneyland didn't have that huge walk-in tunnel thing all the way to the ride and everything was themed, it wouldn't be the same experience. That's kind of what I try and focus on is when people walk in, am I using plastic where there should be metal? No, I'm using actual metal. I'm using realistic materials for what should be there. I'm not trying to, save a couple dollars to make things cheaper just so I can lose a little bit of realism.
Is there a dream theme out there you haven't done yet? Maybe you want to do?
Oh, it's the same dream that every designer or builder has, and it's a time travel game.
Everyone has a little bit of an idea of what they want, and I'm like, oh, somebody needs to get a good one. I would love to do it.
If you ask anyone who's been in the industry for a long time, time travel's up there. Just because you can incorporate, so many different things into the same game. But it's the one that I have in my head is very expensive to pull off. And I'd probably have to bribe a fire marshal or two.
I enjoyed Timeliner. escape game that time?
I haven't played it yet. My staff at Breaking Point, they played it a couple months ago, I think, and they loved it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I haven't got to play it yet.
Awesome. So how important are things like intros and that type of, obviously it's very important, but what about like creative hint systems and like other unique details in the game? How important is that to you?
Anybody who's knows me or has talked to me for a while knows that I have a very firm mindset on something. Nail the beginning, the intro, nail the exit. As long as you don't mess up everything in between, people are going to like the game.
Mm-hmm.
Those bookends.
Yep. Because I mean, if you can hit that intro and then people leave with excitement on the final, you don't want a lackluster finish, right? The best game can get ruined by something terrible at the end. I'm not going to call out the company for this, but there was going through the entire game, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I love this thing. Everything about this game is awesome. Get to the final puzzle and it's defuse the rocket. And it's a tedious, time-consuming, terrible puzzle. And it was like, wow, you just ruined what was easily my favorite game.
Oh, man.
Because you didn't spend a little bit of time at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I know a few of those games.
Just a few I've done.
Yeah.
As far as like in 40 Thieves, where the voices come from everywhere and you have talking objects and stuff like that, where there's sounds coming from multiple locations and theatrical lighting and stuff like that. Really important if you're trying to create a full experience, like beginning to end. Very important. If you're just looking for a good game, like I said, beginning, ending, don't mess up the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Mindtrap has the one game where they have a neat hint system with a printer. And I thought that was a very memorable part of that game.
So any future projects you're working on you want to share with us?
I'm trying to finish up this game in the next couple of weeks out here for Charlie at the River. It's called Endangered.
Cool.
And then immediately after this, I split time between Mindtrap for their new game, which we have not released the name yet. Actually, it'll be out by the time this airs. I think we're going with Imperial Hotel for it.
It's a hotel game?
It's an interesting take on a hotel game. It's kind of like Hotel California, the song where you go in and never get out.
Right.
But I've got some ideas for that game that are dramatically different from anything else I've ever done, which I'm pretty damn excited about. So, and then after this game is done out here, I'll be there half the time, and then I'll be at Breaking Point the other half of the time, finishing up Blackout and a new game that we're building that's on the whimsical side. Haven't come up with a name for it yet, but it's going to be more of that whimsical type game.
Is Blackout going to be an all dart game?
You know, originally it was going to be, but then I have a tendency to go down rabbit holes.
Right.
It is not going to be a totally dark game now. It is way more high tech than that. So, but same basic principle. The power went out and you're trying to get it back on.
Yeah. I played one in North Carolina, City with No Sun, and I really enjoyed that one. And then there's one in Orlando as well. Escape.
And then at Escape the Room in New Orleans has one as well.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Let's check that out.
Room.
You got a lot going on then.
Well, that's just this summer. And then this fall, I'll be back out here in the desert. Charlie just got a new location, so I'll be building a couple games out there for that one.
Oh,
too.
Good for him. It's awesome. Yeah. With Breaking Point, I remember going there. You keep the door always locked, so you had to call somebody to let you in. But the two staff that were there were amazing. I know one worked at Confusion. She worked at Confusion. She was great. We had her there as well.
Probably Emily.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other one was a gentleman. I can't remember his name, but he was great too.
Anthony. I think his name's Anthony.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's no longer with us. He moved on to
okay.
He gone.
bigger and better things, I guess. I don't know.
He gone. No, they were great. How many? So you've got 2 more rooms going in there. Any room for it, or is 4 rooms max? 4 games?
No, we're tapped out with 4
Yeah.
games there. I'll be, once those 2 games are done, because I'm actually working on primarily Blackout at this point, and then I actually have Al Delcom from Confusion. He comes over there and we work together on a lot of stuff too. So he's actually helping me do the Whimsical game right now.
Yep.
And then once those 2 games are done, I'll be revamping a little bit of the other 2 games, but mostly it's tapped out at 4, and there's no reason to take down Headcase or Whitmore because people still love them. So
yeah,
I love both those games, and I know Headcase gets more love than Whitmore, but Whitmore had such a haunted Disney vibe that I really appreciated. So,
well, it's a little bit more haunted at this point because Henry has just a torso at this point. His legs fell off last weekend.
Oh no. It's constant maintenance, isn't it, with escape rooms?
Well, Henry takes a lot of abuse. I mean, you played the game, so
yeah.
We've replaced, because when we first took over, Rick and Ryan detailed him like crazy and wrapped him up in wires so he would like never fail. And we ran through so many games, he just kind of fell apart. And I think I've replaced Henry like 3 times at this point. I need to I need to work some kind of magic on him and keep him together.
Fair enough. So if somebody wants to follow what you're doing as far as rooms, do you have a place that you say, hey, I working on this room or just design this? Is that something you do? Is there a way to follow you?
I'm so busy and so booked out that I actually don't even track. I don't even advertise that I'm out there. But if you post on the forum about me, mostly the Escape Room SoCal page,
okay,
I'll answer. Or if you just swing by Mine Trap, Breaking Point, or Escape Games at the River, I'm probably at all 3 locations at the same time.
It sounds like it.
So, no, I poke my head out whenever I can.
Cool.
But if you really, really want something, just message me on Facebook. It's the easiest way to do it.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, Vincent. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Vincent, thank you so much. This has been Curt and Chris. Thanks for joining us on another scrumptious episode of Mystery Soup. Until our next culinary concoction, may your clues be clear and your escapes be triumphant. Keep puzzling, my friends.
See ya!